Hey guys, this is John from the Lucky Needle, and since a lot of you out there are making your own interiors, I figured it would be a great idea to show you how I clean and maintain my leather interiors. So today I got this 2006 BMW. It's pretty dirty, pretty oily. We need to give it a good cleaning, nice conditioning so we can get this leather looking new again. So stick around and I'm going to show you how I do this. So before we get started, I wanted to run you through some of the supplies you're going to need to do this. We're going to need a bucket for some warm water. We're going to need a blue sponge. We're going to need some microfiber towels. We're going to need an upholstery brush. You can get this at your local auto parts store. You're going to need a vacuum. And you're also going to need an air blower. And then the final two things is I got this Lexol deep leather conditioner and leather cleaner. Alright, so before we get started, I just wanted to explain one thing. All the supplies that I'm using in this video today aren't necessarily the best supplies you can buy around, but what I wanted to do was make this video so that as soon as you're done watching it, you can go to the store and pick up all the supplies you need today and clean your interior. I didn't want to have to use stuff that you're gonna have to order online and wait a week to get. Lexol is really good stuff. It's probably not the very best you can buy out there, and for sure somebody in the comments is probably gonna say, oh, this product is way better, you shouldn't use Lexol and whatever. I understand that. That's totally fine. If you guys have better product suggestions and you want to recommend them to the rest of the viewers, go ahead and leave that in the comment. But for today, what I did was I got all these supplies down the road at the auto parts store, and you guys can do the same. So let's get started cleaning this interior. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get rid of all the dirt and sand and dust that gets trapped in all of these seams here on the seat. And the reason we need to do that is because when that dirt and sand and whatever it is gets stuck in there, it's rubbing all the time when you're getting in and getting out of the car and you're sitting and the car's moving around. And what that is doing is that it's going to act like little pieces of sandpaper, and it's going to wear away at the leather a lot faster than if that wasn't there. So it's really important that we remove all of that sand and grit, and then we can move on to the cleaning process. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use our vacuum and our air blower, and we're going to blow all that dust out of there, and then we're just going to vacuum it up. So one thing you do want to be careful about when you're using the vacuum is you don't want to, be really aggressive with it on the leather. That's why, if you noticed, I was kind of holding my fingers in front of it so that it doesn't actually touch the face of the leather, because we don't want to scratch anything. So before you use any product on your car's interior, you always want to double check and use it in a spot that's not very visible, just to make sure that there's not some strange reaction that the product is going to have with your car's interior. Alright, now we're ready to start cleaning this seat. So I typically like to work my way from top to the bottom, because usually when you're cleaning this, the water likes to run down the seat and get on the parts. If you started cleaning down here, it's going to get, everything dirty down here that you already cleaned. So that's why I like to start from the top to the bottom. I'm going to remove this headrest, and we'll just do this separately outside of the car. And when we remove this headrest, it's going to make it a lot easier for us so we can get, the top of the seat here. Alright, so I've got my bucket of warm water here. I've got my sponge inside there and my upholstery brush. And when you're doing this, what you want is one towel in the bucket of water that's wet, and then you want one towel that's dry that you can wipe off the, the dirt and everything when you're cleaning this. So what I'm going to do is just take this towel, and I'm going to start cleaning this seat just kind of one section at a time. And first I'm just going to get this seat a little bit wet with this damp towel here. And I'm just going to do this section first. And then after that, what I like to do, I'm just going to dunk this and then wring it out. And then I'm going to take our cleaner and I'm just going to spray a few squirts onto this towel here. And the reason I like to do this on a wet rag is because I find that this cleaner, it's a little bit too thick and it doesn't really want to spread out very well. So I find that this really does a good job if you do it like this. And you don't want to get the seat completely soaking wet, but I mean, you don't really have to worry about it too much because it is going to dry, and the water is actually not that bad for the leather because the leather dries out and we do need to, get some moisture back in there. That's what the conditioner is for. So what we're doing here is we're just kind of working this cleaner in, trying to get down into all the seams here and clean this really nice. And once you get that, here with the rag, then you're going to want to come back with your brush and just kind of shake it out so it's, you don't need too much water. And then we're just going to kind of run this back and forth. And what this is going to do is all these little bristles are going to get down inside the grain of the leather here. And sometimes if you want to, give it a little more cleaner, you can spray some cleaner right on the brush here. And that's just going to help, clean it a little bit more if you think it needs it. Now you don't really want to get super crazy and, because then you're going to start flying. You're going to start flying the soap everywhere and it's going to make your job a little bit more harder to clean up. You can see how dirty the water is, so we're definitely pulling a lot of dirt off of this interior. Alright, so after you're done cleaning that section, what you want to do is come back with your dry microfiber towel and just wipe this down. And we're going to pull all of that dirt off, all that dirt and oil off the seat here. And one thing you want to make sure when you're cleaning this is you don't want to let any spots dry while you're cleaning it, because basically what's happening is you're putting the soap on there and it's pulling off all the dirt and everything, and if you let it dry before you wipe it off with the towel, it's just gonna, all that dirt and oil, everything's just gonna dry right back onto the leather, and that's not what we want. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and do this to the whole seat here. So one thing I wanted to mention about using this brush is that if you keep up on your interior and you clean it fairly often, you don't need to use this brush. I'm only using this because I honestly don't think the interior in this car has ever been really cleaned. So there's a lot of dirt and a lot of oil, in all of the grain of this leather. So this is what you're going to want to use if you really happen to do a deep clean. So if you're cleaning your car a couple times a year, you really don't need to use this. You can probably just get away with using the wet microfiber with the cleaner, and you'll be good after that. You clean it, wipe it down, and you should be good to go. This is only for, if you're really having to clean a lot of dirt out of this leather. Also, if you guys are wondering, this cleaner and the leather conditioner is safe to use on vinyl. So a lot of these seats, actually most seats in cars, they have leather and vinyl on the seat covers. Usually they have the side is where you don't actually touch the seat with your body. That's usually vinyl, and they do that to save money on the interiors. So if you were wondering, the chemicals that are in the leather cleaner and the leather conditioner are perfectly safe to use on seats where they have vinyl and leather. One thing you do want to be careful about though is you do not want to use vinyl cleaner on your leather, because vinyl is it's made to stand up to much harsher chemicals, so you can actually use stronger cleaning agents on the vinyl. But since we have leather here, we don't want to use that because it can actually damage the leather. All right, and then once I have my whole seat cleaned, what I like to do is look over it really well and see if there's any, you know, little stubborn spots that didn't come out with the scrub brush. And what I'm going to do is, I can kind of see there's a spot here and a spot there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue sponge, I'm going to wring it out really well, and I'm going to spray some cleaner directly on the rough side. Now, you want to be really careful when you're doing this, especially if your leather has sort of a shiny finish. You might not want to use this sponge. You might want to use something a little bit less aggressive and try something else. But what I'm going to do is just be very, very, very light when I'm scrubbing these spots, because you do have to be careful, because if you get too aggressive you can damage the leather this way. But I'm just going to hit all these little spots here just a little bit, and it should hopefully pull these up. Now, one thing you do want to make sure when you're doing this is that you're not scrubbing a spot that is actually where the finish is starting to wear off of the leather, because if you're doing that, you're just going to keep making it worse. So you need to look really closely and make sure that all these spots that you're touching up, they're not, that they are actually something that's going to come off the leather, and it's not actually the finish wearing off of the leather. Now you can see here that I'm just working in a circular motion, and I'm really barely pushing on this sponge. I'm not putting much pressure on it at all, and I'm just slowly going to do this and try and work loose all of these little spots here that weren't coming off. And then again, we're just going to wipe that off with our dry towel and check to see if that took care of the problem. Alright, so now we need to let this dry. Normally what I would do is just move on to another section of the car, and then when I'm finished with everything, I would come back and start putting the conditioner. Alright, now we're ready to start putting the conditioner onto our seat. And basically what this is it's kind of like lotion for the leather. So if you can just imagine that leather, it's an actual skin, same like the skin on your body, but you know, obviously it came off a cow. And you know, your oils from your skin are what protect it from the sun and keep it nice and soft and everything. So we have to do the same thing for leather interiors, because it can get dried out in the UV rays. You know, it's pretty harsh on these leather hides, and they can get dried and hard, and you know, that's what we want to try and avoid. So we need to make sure that we give it, you know, its oils, and this is what the leather conditioner is going to do. Okay, before we start applying the conditioner, what we need to do is shake it up really well and make sure, you know, that everything's mixed up properly inside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a clean microfiber towel and spray it on there, and then we're just going to evenly put a whole coat, you know, and we'll work in sections. I'll probably do the whole backrest in one time, and then I'll move down to do the cushion here. And it's really going to depend on how dried out your leather is. And on this car, I don't think it's really ever had any conditioner on the seats, so the leather's pretty dry, and it's going to soak up a lot of this conditioner. So we're probably going to have to do a couple coats on this, which is okay. So basically you just want to keep rubbing this in, and you can see, you know, when it's a little bit shiny, we're just going to leave it like that, and we're going to allow the leather to kind of absorb as much of this conditioner as we can. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to have, you know, any like white spots where there's way too much conditioner on there. You know, it's kind of like when you're putting lotion on or sunscreen. You don't want to leave a bunch of white sunscreen on your face. Same thing here. Yeah, I can really see how this leather is just soaking up this conditioner, so we're gonna have to do this a couple of times here. Okay, now we're gonna let this sit for a couple minutes so we can allow all the conditioner to soak in as much as it can, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna buff all this dry with a nice clean towel. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I got my clean towel here and I'm gonna go ahead and buff this out. You just wanna work in circular motion and really, just get off all the extra conditioner. And I think that, when a lot of people, they complain about the leather conditioner leaving kind of a greasy feeling on their seats, I think that's because they didn't do a good enough job at actually really getting all the conditioner worked into the leather and then removed with a nice clean rag, all the extra, because all the stuff, if it didn't soak in, we don't need it in there, and we don't want to leave like a real kind of greasy feeling on your seats. So you want to make sure you do a really good job on this part. Alright, and that's all there is to it. Now we just need to do the whole rest of the car. As you can see, it's not that complicated of a process. It's just a little bit time consuming, but it's really going to pay off on the life of the interior in your car and how much longer it's going to last.